Hi, my name is Abby, and this is my um, workshop Jamboard presentation. Um, all right, so my workshop is all about enhancing student motivation. So let's begin. All right, my first slide is just my problem identification slide. So it explains really why I decided to use this workshop or create this workshop. So it says, as a low-income, poverty-immersed school, educators and administrators at PES, which is the school that I work at, find it difficult to instill intrinsic motivation in their students. So this difficulty causes quite a few other issues in students as they move up from grade to grade, such as behavior issues, all those kinds of things. So when students dislike school, it leads to incomplete assignments, large amount of absences, bad attitudes towards school personnel, and the need for students to value their education is a desperate need. And so this workshop is just going to provide educators with a toolbox they can take back with them full of strategies, advice, and statistics on how to instill this motivation in their students. My second slide is kind of just extending on what I just said. So it's why exactly I chose this workshop. So number one says, where I work needs more student motivation in order to be successful in the future, which I think is true for a lot of schools. Number two says students who have no motivation tend to fail assignments, leading to worse grades as they continue on into the higher grades. Number three says there are many ways to intrinsically motivate students. Educators just simply need the training. And then number four says teachers need to know there are ways to motivate their students without using extrinsic materials such as candy or parties or whatever. And then number five says the majority of students want to succeed. They just need an educator who's responsive, trustworthy, and who cares. A lot of kids come from homes where their parents don't value education, and so they just need somebody there to push them to value it. Number six, students who have no motivation in school will ultimately have no motivation for work. So just starting that motivation inside them sooner is better. And then number seven, parents of these students need assistance. So the parents that do value education, but they just can't get their students to understand that, they need educators to be prepared when this issue arises in their student. All right, slide number five. This one is just my where, when, and who slide. So where my workshop is going to take place is going to be in the school library. And then I just chose the date of Thursday, August 4th. I chose this date because it would be right before the first week of school, and so it would be fresh on educators' minds. The strategies would be practiced and ready to go for the beginning of the school year. And it's important to start these motivations early on so that students can succeed the rest of the school year. And then my who, I chose to use the learners as 10 different educators from my school. I wanted to have a diverse group so that there was different discussions and backgrounds and ideas. And so I said some of the teachers have been teaching for 25 years while others are just now starting their first year of teaching, which I think is important in any kind of workshop to have a diverse group. And then my next slide is my how and my what. So for how this workshop is going to go, basically this just says it's going to be conducted in an in-person setting. All content will be delivered by a live classroom management specialist. The content will be presented in short durations, focused on the 5 key categories in student motivation. They're going to learn and discuss these categories, and then they'll be given a lot of strategies that they can take back to their classrooms. They'll do hands-on practice with the strategies, working in groups, and then obviously the specialist will do like skits or scenarios where they can work together to to practice the strategies. Each group is going to have all the materials that they need on their table, and I plan to have group pairings throughout the whole classroom or the whole library. And then my what, so the responsibilities of the learners in the workshop are going to be to participate in example projects, discussions, and be open-minded to trying something new. Then skills that they're going to need to bring in are pretty simple. They're just going to be able to need to work well with a group, be willing to discuss and practice using skills, and have a good attitude. And that added on here that further training may be needed if educators feel the need to practice additionally before they feel confident enough to implement it in their own class. This is my design page. So the purpose of the workshop is to equip educators with tools and strategies they can implement in their classrooms when they have students who severely lack intrinsic motivation. And then my rationale is, so the sequence of instruction is based on the 9 events of instruction, as well as the classroom management specialist who would be conducting the strategies and skills throughout the whole workshop. So she would obviously be someone that was classified in this area. So this is kind of how my workshop would be run. So the introduction would be a video about student motivation, and then we would present the workshop purpose, why we're here, why we need to learn this. We'd have a brief discussion where different ideas could be brought in of why we need this, or why you're attending the workshop, or why you think it's important. We would do an icebreaker where they could I chose a random icebreaker where they could create name tags and then share their name and why they chose the specific name tag decoration. And then we would do the pre-lesson survey. And then the learning activities. This is where we're going to present the 5 key characteristics, which are credibility, value, belonging, effort, and efficacy. And then after that, we're going to let participants discuss with their group members what they think is most important of the 5 categories. And then we'll come back whole group and we'll discuss, let everybody share. Then we're going to give participants ideas and strategies that the specialist has seen work in other students. Move that up. And then we're going to let the audience share ideas and strategies that they have used that work and ones that have failed, kind of like a Q&A. And then we're going to let educators choose one strategy and give them time to practice using a group member. So kind of like the specialist will give each group a scenario, and they'll go back and forth, using the strategies correctly in that specific scenario. Here would be the sequence of events overview. And so number 1, we're going to define exactly what is intrinsic motivation, because you never know if the people coming to the workshop are going to know what that is. That's key to understanding the whole workshop. Number 2 says we're going to share the 5 ways to enhance student motivation. Number 3, we're going to give participants time to share and discuss, which is so important. Number 4, the speaker is going to share and demonstrate their strategies that they find helpful. Number 5, the participants are going to share their strategies and tools that they used in the past, which is just kind of going to be like a bouncing back and forth, sharing ideas. And then number 6, participants practice with a guide. They're going to practice with the help of the specialist, and they're going to choose one of the strategies or scenarios to work with and practice with. So these are my 9 events of instruction. So number 1, to gain attention, we're going to use an introduction video. I chose one on YouTube from Sprout Schools. It defined intrinsic motivation, and then we're going to briefly discuss, do an icebreaker, and then we'll go into number 2, which is to inform the learners of the objectives. So we're going to present a hard copy of the workshop outline as soon as they arrive, and this outline is going to highlight objectives, learning outcomes, and all those things of the workshop, and the specialist will make sure to go over that. Number 3, we're going to stimulate the recall of prior learning. So by doing that, we're going to do a pre-lesson survey We're going to identify prior knowledge of the participants, and then the survey will be an open discussion format where they just share aloud what they already know. Number 4, present the content. So all content is going to be presented in person, like I've said, in a setting of 10 participants. It's going to be via PowerPoint presentation, highlighting the 5 key characteristics, and then they'll have time to share and discuss throughout. Number 5, guide the learning. So student participants will participate in a discussion where the specialist shares their tools and strategies they have found effective, while they also get to share what they have found to be effective or not effective. The specialist will do scenarios where they put the strategies to use, and during this time they can ask questions, participate in the scenarios, and they can share ideas to further promote motivation. Number 6, elicit performance or practice. So after each strategy is taught, they're going to get a chance to practice using scenarios and seeing which strategies they like the most and which ones they think is going to work the most. And they're going to do that with their partner. Number 7, providing feedback. So live feedback is going to be given to participants as they're working together. The specialist is going to be walking around, making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and she's going to be walking around just making sure to answer any questions that they might have. Number 8, we're going to assess the performance. So performance will be self-assessed. If participants think that they have practiced well enough and mastered the strategy, they're good. If the specialist is going to be walking around giving feedback as they're practicing, so she'll kind of have a checklist going in her mind of, what needs to be worked on, what's good. And then the last one, number 9, and we're going to enhance retention and transfer. So a brief overview of the 5 characteristics will be reviewed at the very end, and they're going to give participants a chance to share what they've learned, what they found valuable. And at the end, the participants will share which strategy that they will be implementing in their school this year and why they chose that strategy. And it will close by reminding participants why these strategies are valuable and they need to be utilized in our schools. This is my implementation checklist. This is just the things that need to be done before the workshop can begin. So having a hard copy of the outline, hard copy of post-lesson survey, hard copy of strategies, PowerPoint presentation, book the library for the workshop, set up desk accordingly, book specialists to come share, get all materials together, and then locate a YouTube video for an introduction. So at the very end of the workshop, there's going to be kind of like a post-lesson survey, which I would classify what I created as more of like an exit ticket that they have to complete before they exit the workshop. And that is going to be on this next slide. Here's a picture of it. So I just have the title of the survey on the top. Number 1 says indicate your comfort level with performing the following task. So they're going to go through these 5 tasks. They're going to say if we're very comfortable, we're unsure about it, or if we're not comfortable at all. And that's going to just kind of give the speaker the feedback that she needs in order to continue, or if even as a library media specialist, if we need to have a workshop like this again in order to feel very comfortable. Number 2 says, would you like to attend another workshop surrounding this topic? And it's yes or no. And then at the very bottom it says, please share any feedback you have from today's workshop. That could be good or bad, any feedback. And there's no names, it's all anonymous. So teachers or participants should feel comfortable sharing what they wrote. And here is my resources tab. So all the images were gathered from the clip art tab right here. Let me circle it. Right here on Jamboard, there is a clip art tab, which I'm sure you. And here is my resources page. So on my resources page, I just simply wrote that all images were gathered from the clip art tab on Jamboard, which I've circled right here. This is the clip art tab. I just simply clicked on it, typed in whatever clip art I was looking for. This specific time I was looking for the check mark for my checklist page. And then I just clicked on it and it downloaded straight to my Jamboard. I wasn't really sure how to cite from clip art, but that's